Hi everyone! In this video I'm going to go over the directions for our psychedelic typography project. We have some warm-up activities that we've been working on, and we also saw some slides of different artists that created posters for bands in the 1960s for their concerts. They used this really stylized type of lettering that was psychedelic. It had these flowing, curving lines that really made you want to look at the poster because these fonts are not the easiest to read. So I have two examples here of what your final project might look like. The first thing I want to do is go over the letter formation. So I know this is filled out in pencil already, but I'm going to trace over it in a Sharpie marker, and you can follow along if you are really struggling with this. To form these letters as blocks, we're going to start off with a square shape. So using the square shape is going to help make sure that our letters are uniform in size all throughout our project, and it's going to help us space out our words. Have you ever tried to write something in block letters and then all of a sudden everything's falling off the page? Using squares is going to help make sure that our letters stay consistent. So I'm going to quickly go over how to form the letters in the alphabet, and if you're struggling with this, hopefully watching me do it will help you figure it out. So the way that we're drawing these letters is using positive and negative spaces. So for the letter A, the negative spaces behind the letter I'm going to shade in so that the white part of the letter becomes the focal point. And I'm using the square, the edges of the square, to help form that letter. So once I shade in the background behind that, you can really see how the A is popping out in that square. For the letter B, 2 bumps, 2 circles, shade it all in, and then you can see how that helps form the B. A little C, a big C, finish the square, shade in, everything else. The letter D, big curve, little d, we can shade in everything. Letter E, really focusing on just drawing that space where those letter E's come in. Letter F is similar to letter E. Shape like that. And when we shade in the negative spaces, the letter stands out. 2 curves, 3 curves. So G is kind of like C, where we're starting making curves in the corner. And we make a curve in the bottom corner, but then the G, you come in and spiral back up, then come over, and then can shade it in. Now I know that there's more than just the way that I'm doing it to make block letters. Like for letter H, you might want to make it really squared and shade it in to make the H stand out. Or for I, you might want to make it really round. That's just, your style, your preference. Letter J, you could have the bar across the top of letter J or not. I'm going to make the bar across the letter J come down and curve, down and over. Then I shade in those spaces behind it. Letter K, V, V, V on those 3 corners, shade them in. Now the white part is letter K. Letter L, you just draw a letter L, make it go all the way across, and then shade it in. Letter M, 3 shapes. You can do them very round, or you can do them pointed. That's your personal preference. It's your style. Letter N, I'm going to do these pointed. triangle, triangle. Shade it in. And that way when you look at the entire square, it now looks like a block letter N. Letter O, little O in the center. Curves around all the corners. Shade in those corners. Shade in the middle. Letter P. I like to start from the bottom, come over and then back up. Add a circle and shade it in. And then when you look at the whole square, looks like letter P. Q is a lot like letter O, has those curves in the corner. Bottom right corner needs to have the legs sticking out, so we'll add 2 triangles coming in from the side, and I'm going to shade this in first. Then I'm going to make a half circle, a little bit more than a half circle, come up and over, almost like making a square. Letter R is a lot like letter P. It has the legs standing up, the curves for the top of the R, a circle, and 2 lines coming down diagonally. Then we can shade. Letter S. Now this one's a little bit tricky because it's super curvy, so this is the way I like to start. On the right hand side, a curve coming in. On the left hand side towards the bottom, a curve coming in. Then I add a curve in the bottom right corner and a curve in the top left corner, and then I shade. That way when I look at the entire square and I'm looking at the white space, it looks like the letter S. Letter T. Kind of like how I did letter J, it has that bar across the top. Then I shade. Letter U. U right in the center. Curve, curve in the corner. Then I can shade all the way around. And it looks like letter U. Letter V, I'm going to use angled lines because I want to make sure that my letter V and my letter U don't look too similar. So for this one, I'm going to use angled lines that are straight. Letter W. It looks just like letter M, but flipped over. For letter W, I'm going to use sharp angled lines again. So triangle, triangle, triangle. And then I can shade it in. Letter X. It's a lot like letter K. For letter K, we drew 3 triangles. For letter X, we're going to do 4. So a V, upside down V, towards the center and back to the corner, towards the center, back to the corner. Then when I shade, the negative space, I can see that white X as positive space. Letter Y, a V. Almost like the letter V, I'm going to come down, but then I'll go straight, vertical, up and down. And then shade, 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 shade. Z. It looks a lot like N, except it's turned on its side. So triangle coming in from the left, triangle coming in from the right, shade, shade, shade. Number 1, I want to make a fancy number 1. So from the right corner, line like the letter L, and I'll just shade it in. Then top left corner, a little triangle, shade it in, and then I'm going to slope up, down, and over. It's my number 1. Number 2, it's kind of like letter S where it has a curve coming in from the side, curves around the top edges, and a triangle on the right. Shade it all in. 3, it's a lot like the letter E, except it's flipped over. So I'm going to use curves, 2 curves for each bump of the number 3, and then 2 curves so that the back of the number 3 is also round. Number 4, little rectangle coming down from the top, little square in the corner. Number 5, curves like the letter S. Little triangle curve in the corner, little rectangle on the right. That way when we're looking at the entire square, it looks like a 5. 6 and 9 I put in the same because they look like each other flipped over. So I'm going to start in the corner with a long slope, a slope down, and a curve, 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 circle, fill it in, do all my shading. And if I flip my paper over, that's what 9 looks like. Number 7, 2 slopes coming up, a line coming over, it looks like a 7 and a 1, and then I shade, shade, shade. That way when I look at my whole square, it looks like a 7. 8, looks like 2 O's stacked on top of each other. So you can start with 2 circles, corner, 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 little V on the side, little V on the side. Now it looks like an 8. So I'm just going back and I'm looking at my cue and I didn't fill it in. So I'm going to fill that in. Now that we've done this, we are ready for the next warm-up activity. And this is our lettering practice. So we want to practice creating the words in these different shapes below. There's no squares here. We have to make our own squares here. So this is what we were doing. We're choosing the word. For this example, I'm going to use the word love. The word love has 4 letters. So in between each letter, we need a line. 1, 2, 3 lines. So in my space, my oval shape for the word love, I'm going to write 3 lines. So just watch. 1, 2, 3. So this will be my L, my O, my V, and my E. So I can look back at my lettering sheet that I just made, and I can look at the letter L, and I need to make this big rectangle in the top right corner, and then I can shade it in. Then I can move to my next letter, which is O. Little circle in the middle, curves around the edges, and then I can shade. So the whole purpose of doing this is to just warm ourselves up to this new type of handwriting, because this is hand lettering in a special type of a font. Then I can look for V, and I know I need to make a triangle, slant, and a slant, and then shade. And then E. And then I can shade these in. And now when I look at my paper, there's my love. The word peace. It has 5 letters, so in between each letter we need a line. We need 4 lines. So this is where it comes into play, where how I said we're going to help us space out all of our letters. So that's 3. I need 4, so I'm going to put 1 more here. That way I have a space for each letter. So for P, and this one I'm going to make fancy, do a heart instead of a circle for the opening in my P, because this is practice. If you want to try doing it a little bit different, you can definitely do that. So we have our P, then our E. So this one I did really squared. So let's do this one with wavy lines. P, E. There we go. Switching it up, trying something new. Let's do A. This one I'll try to follow the guide. Curve. This one I'll do a little heart. Curve around. Then I'll look at C. Curve to the right. Curves on the corner. And then E again, and because I want to try and keep it the same, I'll do it wavy. There we go. Now it looks like it says peace in white. And this last one is a word of your choice. So if you used the page that had all of the different ideas to come up with words for yourself, you can use this to help you with coming up with words for yourself. because you need to have a word of your choice on this one. So these are two words I chose. I want you to choose a word. So for this, I'm going to use the word, I want to think of something that we haven't done the letters for. I'm going to do July. That's when my birthday is. So I'm going to count out how many letters. July has 4 letters. So I need to put a line in between each letter, so 3 lines. So when I look at my shape that I have here, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Then I have a place for each letter. So we'll do J here, and I'll do it different. I'll do a hook for a J, come over, curved line coming down, and then shade, 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 all in here. In the middle, we're going to do a U, or we practiced U, so I'm going to use curves, curves, curves. There's my U. And then for the L, we practice L for the love. We know this one. This one's kind of simple. Just draw an L, shade to the right of it, and then Y, I'm going to do a fancy Y. I'm going to do a curve coming down. I'm going to do a curve coming over and back. Like that. There we go. So when I look at all of the white space, those are my letters. So this was my warm-up. I used my own word and the 2 words that I gave you, and I really thought about how many letters each word was. So how many lines did I need to draw to evenly space them out so they filled up the whole shape. After we do these 2 things, we need to start planning our thumbnail sketches. And I'm going to show you the thumbnail sketches that I made for my finals. Alright. A thumbnail sketch should be super fast. It should not take a long time, and it should not have a lot of details. So I have 2 thumbnail sketches. This thumbnail sketch goes with this one. So for this design, I used lines to break up the space, and in each space I tried to figure out what words I wanted to use that I came up with from the worksheet. So I used my first name, my middle name, our state, my birthday, the type of music I like, where I went to school, the year I was born, where I went to graduate school. I'm a little messy, but I like to be chilling at the beach. So those were some other words that I came up with from that brainstorming activity. So this was my thumbnail sketch, and this is what my project turned out like. Another idea, so you don't have to use the words from our sheet. I tried to come up with a quote. So I wrote, champs, friends, everyone is welcome in our school. Kindness, JFK, and GMB. So this was my thumbnail sketch. Super quick. Didn't even do the letters the way that we're going to do them on the final. I just planned out what I wanted my composition to look like. I knew I wanted to have a rainbow, a cloud, a sun, some hearts, and I tried to sketch out where I wanted the words to be. I did the rays of the sun to spell out champs. I want the sun to have the word friends, and a rainbow with some stripes that has the text, everyone is welcome in our school, kindness coming out of the cloud, and JFK and GMB. I didn't even color this. I just wrote what colors I wanted things to be because a thumbnail sketch should be pretty quick. I'm going to ask that you try to come up with 2 thumbnail sketches. Just planning out ideas. You could do song lyrics, you could do information about you could choose a quote. I'm going to leave that part up to you to choose. So work on a thumbnail sketch, and then we'll start planning out our final.